Hi, and welcome to Loch Haven's A Senior Moment. I'm Beth Truitt. I'm the marketing director at Loch Haven, and today I have a couple of guests, and we are going to talk about cruising in cars. It's what they love to do. Cars is their passion, and so I have with me Robert and Gerry Berti, and so we're going to talk to them about what kind of fun they have with this really incredible hobby. Robert, I'm going to start with you. How did you get started in this hobby with cars?
My uncle built me a quarter midget when I was 9 years old. I still got it. It's been in the family, it's been in Kentucky, it's been in Illinois, but it came back home. I restored it for my grandsons, and it's resting in the shop right now. That got me started. Then I bought my first car when I was 12 years old for $5.
Wow.
Had to borrow 3.
That's good.
And the old man lived down the road here. He was a 31 Model A. He said I'd never get it running. That's what he told my dad. That's why he let me have it. 2 days later, Dad come home from work, and I was out in the field running around with it.
Yeah.
And I've been into it ever since.
So you've always loved cars.
Yep.
That's been your passion. Gerry, what about you?
Well, I met Robert when I was 16, and of course he was really into cars, and he's the one that taught me to appreciate cars. My dad was the type that, if it had gas and the tires were aired up, it was a good car. It was just a car.
As long as it would get you from point A to point B, right?
Correct. So then through Robert, I've learned to appreciate them.
That's great. Can you tell us about your first car?
Well, actually, this is my first car, my
What a
only
dandy
car.
What a dandy to start out with.
When we were teenagers growing up, you just didn't have your own car. You had to borrow Dad's car on a weekend or something. And then when we got married, we shared a car. But this is totally my first car.
That's great. How'd you get it? Did you buy it like this?
Well, I don't know if you know what the term rust bucket means, but that would describe this car. And Robert had bought it to resell. I don't know, he didn't tell me at the time that's what it was, he was going to resell, but that's what he bought it for. And he brought it home, and it happened to be the day before my birthday. And he came in the house and he said, "I bought you a birthday gift." And I thought, well, that's strange because we just don't ever exchange birthday gifts. And he kind of had this little smile on his face, and he said, come look. So I went down to the shop, and here was, like I said, this rust bucket. And I was so excited because it was what they call a shoebox Ford, which was a 49, 50, 51. They call them shoebox. And I've always just loved shoebox Fords, and so as rusty as it was, I still fell in love with it. And I went around the car, and I told him, I want fender skirts. I want lake pipes, I want it chopped, I want this, I want that. I just gave a whole list of things, and he looked at me and he said, "You're serious?" And I went, "Yes." And I said, "Weren't you serious?" And he said, "Well, I think I am now." So from there, that was in 2004. And
Robert, were you impressed that she knew all these things about a car?
It surprised me. I didn't think she'd been paying attention all these years.
That's really something. I'm impressed, Gerry. That's great. Robert, how about your car back here? Tell us about how you got this car.
Okay.
It is a beauty.
Used
That's
to be
really neat.
a junkyard in Macon, Ellison's junkyard.
Oh, yes.
And I used to work for Gilbert on weekends when I was a kid. I was 15. And he sent me up to this old building to get a part for something. And I went in there, and this car was sitting in there. This was in 1955. I went back to the office. I said, "You got to sell me that car." He wouldn't even talk about it. So over the years, I kept trying to buy it. He wouldn't sell it. And at my dad's funeral, he told me, he said, "When you get things kind of settled down," he said, "come over to the office. I got something for you." And I went over, and he had this on the back of the wrecker. He said, "I'm going to give it to you, but I don't want you to make a hot rod out of it as long as I'm living." That was in 1976. He died in 86, and I had just finished a 57 Chevy. So I drove it till 96 and sold it and she asked me what I was going to do with the money. And I said, I'm going to do the 33. And she said, what are you going to do with what's left? I said, there won't be any left. And there wasn't. But
That's right.
he didn't want to see it cut up, and I had the top marked to chop the top. And I came up to the shop, or from the shop, and I told Jerry, I said, I can't do it. I said, every time I look at that Gilbert, I can hear Gilbert saying he didn't want to cut up. So I didn't. It's actually, there's very few modifications from what Henry built it, except the running gear, because I wanted to drive it.
Yeah.
But
well, what with the cars, you know, I know it's your love, and I know that, Robert, that you actually turned automotive repair or building, or I'm not sure exactly what you call it, into a business. You worked at the mine, and when the mine closed down, you opened up a business. So this is something that you have always loved, and not only as a hobby, but as a job as well.
actually, when I started it as a business, I ruined my hobby.
Yes, sometimes that does happen.
But
yes.
I built this car while I had the business. And I actually bought this car when I still had the business, but I didn't really get started on it until after.
So maybe you wouldn't have the car if you hadn't had the business, Jerry.
True.
You know. What do you all do with the cars? I mean, they're just beautiful. I love, you know, you came out to Loch Haven the other day, you and some other friends who have cars and love cars like you guys do. What do you guys do? What do you do with the cars?
For years, we were on a pit crew on a sprint car from 65 to 2000. When I quit, I thought Jerry was going to divorce me. So we started this, and now we had our family in the racing community. Now we've got our family in the car show community. We go to different car shows, and it's like a family reunion every time we go to a car show.
Yeah.
We've eliminated a lot of shows that we didn't have fun at. We go to the fun shows, and one of them is probably 4 hours away. One of them 6 or 7 hours away, Salina, Kansas.
Yeah.
And, but we don't like to miss them.
How about cruising? Do you like to, Jerry? What do you like about cruising? What all is fun about that?
Well, a couple of times a month we'll get together with some other car people and get in our old cars, and we try different towns, different restaurants, take a cruise, and just being with other car people and talking cars. That's what it's all about.
That's right.
And like at Loch Haven the other day, when you see people, especially some of the older people, when they see his car, they'll say, that's what we used to date in. So they identify with that.
Yeah.
So
that's great. That is wonderful. Well, in both of these cars, and I'm not really great on all the different features, but I know that there are some really neat features. I happen to have been hearing about the features one by one over the years from Jerry. So why don't you start, Jerry, with your car and just show us some different features. You can do a tour of the car. I'll kind of step out it and let you take over on that.
Okay. My car is what they call a custom, which means it's been altered from the original stock model that came out. As you can see, it's been chopped. Kenny Baker of Elmer helped him chop the top and actually took out 5 inches in the back, 5 inches in the front, 5.5 in the back. And these are what we call lake pipes. That was another thing that I said I wanted. They got their name from the Salt Lake Flats when the guys used to go out and race across the flats. These are lake pipes. These are fender skirts, and that was another thing that I associated with the 50s, and that's what I wanted my car to look like, was something from the 50s. And around front, the grill, I should tell you that this started out as a 51 Ford, but it has several different pieces in it. This part of the front, the headlights and this much, 56 Oldsmobile. My grill, which everyone says looks like teeth, that's from a 52 DeSoto. The tail lights, they are a 50 Mercury light. And I have so many people come up to me at a show, even older guys that I thought would know, and they'll look at my car and say, "What year Mercury is this?" But it's actually a Ford. It does have Mercury parts in it. Another thing I wanted when he brought it home, I said I wanted blue dot taillights. That's the red lens with a little blue lens in the middle. That was popular in the 50s. We've had 2 other cars with blue dots, and for some reason the police have told us that they are not legal. We had to take them out, so he said no blue dots. But inside, my interior lights are a 49 Chevy taillight. I'm sorry, a 47 Chevy taillight, and it has blue dots. So just to appease me, I got my blue dots on the inside of my car. The only thing we haven't done is the interior. We have a friend who has a 50 Ford in Ottawa, Kansas, and I took my car to him to have my interior done. But other than that, Robert has done everything. On the back, I have a plaque that says Dragon Dragons. That was a car club that was started actually right down the road here in a garage by what was the Old Rock Tavern, and it was started in 1958. And when it kind of outgrew that little building, and the guys started meeting over what was the old floral hall at the fairgrounds. It's been torn down, replaced with the new one. But the guys would meet out there on weekends and fix their engines and rebuild cars and things. And but we still have actually a replica of the original. We have the original, but this is a replica of the original plaque from 1958.
Super, Gerry. I have one more thing I want to ask you about, and I know you can't show it because it's daylight, but what about throwing flames? I've heard something about you can actually throw flames. I want to know about that.
Yeah, I'm a crazy old lady, I guess, but that was one thing that I wanted on my car were flamethrowers. About 8 years ago, we were at a car show in Quincy, Illinois, and there was a car there, and oh, it was shooting flames. It was just beautiful. So I told him, I said, okay, when you build my car, I want flamethrowers, and sure enough, I got them.
So it actually throws the flame, like 2 different places out the back.
Yeah, my dual exhausts in the back, it shoots out both of my exhausts.
Well, I wish it was dark so that we could see that, but I don't think that's going to work today.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it very well today, but nighttime, definitely.
The door handles. I just noticed there's no door handles on this. So do you have to keep your window rolled down all the time?
Well, at car shows, yes, I do. But if my car windows are up, I have to make sure I have my keys in my hand because it has a remote popper on it that I can remotely pop my doors open.
Oh, now is that something?
And if I forget my keys, there are a couple of other little secret things of getting into.
So in 51, would this have normally had door latches on it, and you all took them out?
Normally they would take the door handles off.
Okay, we're bringing the expert back in.
They would take the door handles off, but they would have a cable somewhere where they would pull it. It wasn't electronic.
Okay, yeah, because they wouldn't have had a remote key start at that point. Okay, Robert, it's your turn. You have to give us a tour of your little car here. I see spider webs up here in the front. Is that your theme?
That was actually our theme was going to be sunburst, and the fellow that upholstered it, he had it drawn out, and while we were sitting there talking, he started hooking them together with little loops, and Gerry said, "That looks like a spider web," and it just went from there. But this car's got suicide doors, and when they came open, you can see why they called them suicide doors. And another thing my uncle told me, he said when they'd push them to start them, when they wouldn't start, he said then you couldn't get around the door to get in it. But the car, basically the drive line, the frame and everything are modern. It's got air conditioning. The body lines, I left the side panels off because at car shows they want to see your engine and the hood wouldn't stay up. So I took the side panels off. The only modifications I made were it had a pipe coming out for the gas filler. I put a lid over that. It's off of I think it was an '86 Audi, and I recessed the license plate and put 47 Chevy taillights in it. Other than that, and the headlights are off of a 33 Ford truck. They're bigger. It's all original other than one fender we got rear-ended at a car show, which made me sick and mad, but all the metal is original, 33 Ford. I've had several opportunities to sell it, but I really don't want to. The headliner is kind of a feature on the interior. I don't know how to explain it. She's just going to have to get a picture of it, but it's a spider web coming off of the dome light. The air conditioning, I didn't have room under the dash. The outlets are in the package tray. The trunk it opens and closes electronically. But it's a fun ride. I've put about 24,000 miles on it.
Thank you for showing us the cars. Gerry, how do you guys get to the car shows? Do you trailer them?
Definitely not. We drive our cars. That's the fun of getting there, is to drive them. And I love to be going down an interstate and some guy goes by me and gives this thumbs up, and then they kind of do this double take like, whoa, that's a lady in there.
Yeah.
Kind of unusual.
That is fun.
He has a sign in his shop that kind of says it all. It says, trailers are for boats, and that's kind of the motto that we've followed. Except this past February, we had to borrow an enclosed trailer. We were invited to take my car to 2 indoor shows. One was the second weekend of February. The one was the last weekend of February. Because of weather and heavy salt on the roads, we thought we'd better borrow one. So the first one was in Kansas City, and the second one was Detroit, Michigan, the Autorama. So we definitely couldn't drive them there. We had to borrow a trailer.
Yeah, I could understand that.
It really hurt.
I bet. Well, I'd like to talk to you guys just for a little bit about this as a hobby. Because I always think, oh, that would be really neat to have a car. But, I don't build anything like that. My husband doesn't build anything like that. So, can you get into this hobby without having to build a car yourself? You guys, obviously, that is part of the real fun of it for Robert and you, Gerry, watching him over all these years. But what if I just want to get into this and not even necessarily car showing, but just the cruising, and I want to have an old car?
Well, there's always cars available for sale. You don't want to watch Barrett Jackson. You can't compare the cars that are sold at Barrett Jackson with most cars that you would enjoy. The cars that they sell there, they're showpieces. They're not really be driven, but
right.
There's a lot of cars for sale. And if you have any ability at all, you can buy kit cars, fiberglass bodies. You can buy almost anything that you want to build one. But there's a lot of people that they don't know a spark plug from a tire, and they've got cars that they enjoy. I enjoy building them. I've got 3 years in the 33. I've got 5 years in the 51.
Yeah, that's great.
And right now I'm building my grandson a pickup that I hope I can live long enough to get it done.
Good. I was going to ask you about any kind of future projects, so that's great.
I just enjoy the challenge. Kenny Baker, he's my mentor or my hero or whatever you want to call him. He said anybody can put one back the way they built them in Detroit. He said it takes a man to cut one up and build it the way he wants to. So I'm trying to be a man.
Great. Oh, you've done a great job at that. It's a lot of people become empty nesters. They find it's just back to how it was before kids. Has this been good for the two of you as a couple to do this hobby together? Well, Gerry, you want to talk about that a little bit?
All you have to do is say go, and we're gone. We love to go. And like he kind of touched on a little bit earlier, maybe you just go to the same show once a year and you meet the same people, and it's just like family. It's friends and family. And we've just, gotten closer and made lots of nice friends that way. To me, there's just nothing like your true car people that really love cars. There's just nobody like it. They just, if they just want to talk about their cars, you can do that all day.
Yeah. What's one of the best things that you think has happened to you guys as a result of this hobby, of your both your love for cars? I mean, I know I'm really putting you on the spot here, but what do you think? What's one of the best, either the highlight or just something that's really neat that's happened because of it?
Well, my highlight was being invited to the 2 indoor shows. It wasn't a competition for us. It was just to display my car. And they were top builders, national-wide builders, that invited us to go to those 2 shows. And to me, that was just such an honor that we couldn't pass up.
That's wonderful. How about you, Robert? Do you have anything there that's been a highlight?
I think my highlight happened in Salina, Kansas. George Barris came up, looked my car over.
Who's George Barris?
George Barris was, well, still is. He builds cars like the Batmobile. He built the car on Adam's Family. You know, he built
someone who knows cars.
Right. And he's been doing this since back in the 40s. And he come up and looked my car over and said, "You have a very nice car there." And I said, "You didn't make my day, you made my year."
I bet.
And then Gene Winfield came up and was asking how we did the top around the back glass. And for somebody, he's another big car builder. And for somebody like that to be asking me a question that's a highlight.
That's great. Do you mind sharing your age? I mean, this is called a senior moment, and so it's about those who have retired, and I think it's really interesting for our audience to hear that there are people who are in their what we want to call senior years that are still active in doing that. So, Robert, do you mind?
I'm 70.
You were 70? Jerry?
Well, I got an email this morning, and I just found out I'm 24,804 days old.
Oh, so you're not going to tell the real age.
Well, I don't mind.
That's okay.
That computes to in about a month I'll be 68.
Wow. That is wonderful. Are you guys going to keep doing this hobby then? Together?
As long as our health will let us.
All right. That is wonderful.
And we'd encourage everybody else to get out on the road and start cruising.
Yeah, you know, and if it's not a hobby of cars, there are so many other hobbies that people can do together. And I think it's a wonderful thing. You know, those who play together, stay together, you know, that's, well, it's sort of a modification of another saying. But we really appreciate this. And I really am happy that you both joined us, but I'm kind of wanting to go for a ride. What do you think, Jerry?
I'm always up for a ride.
Sorry, Robert. I'd love to take you, but we got to get Martina in the back seat here. So we're going to go for a little ride in Jerry's car.
We'll do it.
Okay, thanks. This is really fun, Jerry. I can't believe how small, though, the windshield is. That surprises me.
Well, when you cut 5.5 inches out, lowers it that much.
Yeah.
But really, when I pull up to a stoplight, I haven't had a problem with seeing. I mean,
yeah,
I had to duck just a little bit sometimes if I'm the first one in line.
Every once in a while. How about the knob here, the suicide knob thing?
Well, they're called necker knobs, and I'm thinking it's because, I don't know, the guys wanted one hand free to...
Yeah. Oh, necker. I gotcha.
I'm thinking that's how they got their name.
Yeah.
But they are actually illegal in Missouri.
Yes.
So I wanted a necker knob, but I can't have it.
You couldn't have one. Well, that's really neat. Oh, and I'm, you know, right now I'm feeling like we're in an episode of Happy Days. Or Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
Are you Shirley? I'm Laverne. No, you're Laverne.
I'm Laverne.
I'm Shirley.
I'm sure I have the L.
I'm Laverne. Okay. This has been so much fun. Thank you and Robert for doing this, and we are going to see you the next time we have a senior moment.